Welcome to Wentzville, Missouri. Today we're going to be driving to the Weldon Spring site, which is about 12 miles from our current location. Weldon Spring is a town with a rich historical past. The residents of Weldon Spring have made vital sacrifices and contributions to our country's national defense. Back in April of 1941, the Department of the Army, under a state of emergency, acquired 17,232 acres of land in St. Charles County, Missouri, for the production of explosives to use in World War II. That's where our story begins today. A St. Louis newspaper headline read, "War Department needs 18,000 acres for TNT plant." This paper was delivered to 3 small towns in St. Charles County. The people of Howell, Hamburg, and Tunerville were stunned when they learned that their land was needed and that it would be acquired for production of a TNT and a DNT plant. Word spread quickly through the towns as letters from the War Department were deposited in mailboxes. The 576 residents of the 3 small towns would be displaced from their homes, and construction of the plant was to begin in only 45 days. Most who had to sell their land were farmers, the 3rd or 4th generation of pioneer families who settled in the area. The homes and the land of 130 farm families and 67 families in the towns were lost to construction of the TNT plant. In November of 1940, a community sale was held, and the possessions that were unwanted or that were too difficult to move were sold to the highest bidder. The families began to leave the area in December, and by January of 1941, most of the residents of the 3 towns had vacated their homes. The U.S. Department of the Army quickly cleared the area for construction by burning buildings and homes that once made up the 3 small towns. The people of Howell, Hamburg, and Tunerville gave up their homes, farms, businesses, schools, and churches. Some of them broken-hearted, some angry, some numb, all knew that they were making their sacrifice for the defense of the United States and in service to their country. The Weldon Spring area has made vital contributions to the national defense of this country. During World War II, the U.S. Department of the Army operated an ordnance works which produced almost 750 million pounds of TNT and DNT. The Ordnance Works was the largest manufacturer of explosives in the country and possibly the world during the war. 100 storage bunkers were built, but they were never used since the demand was so high. Then in 1955, the U.S. Department of the Army transferred some 200 acres to the U.S. Atomic Energy Commission for construction of the Weldon Spring Uranium Feed Materials Plant. It was during the operation of the Uranium Feed Materials Plant from 1958 to 1966 that some of the initial steps in processing uranium that entered into the nuclear weapons and fuel cycles took place. Local Army Reserve, Navy Reserve, and National Guard units have used portions of the area for field training, and it's a use that will continue long into the future. By 1967, the AEC ceased operations at the plant and transferred 169 acres of the Uranium Feed Materials Plant back to the Army, where it would simply be named the Chemical Plant. The AEC retained ownership of the raffinate pit area and the quarry. Between 1970 and 1980, environmental concerns became a national issue, and Congress passed the National Environmental Policy Act, out of which the Environmental Protection Agency was born. Several environmental laws were passed that affected water quality, air quality, and waste management. In 1980, Congress also established the CERCLA Act, commonly known as the Superfund program, which was tasked with the identification and cleanup of abandoned hazardous waste sites. By 1987, the Weldon Spring site was listed as a Superfund site on the National Priorities List as a result of a perceived threat to the nearby water supply. The years from 1988 through 1996 saw the most activity, starting with the cleanup investigations of chemical and radiological soil sampling, off-site lake and stream sediment sampling, studies of fish and wildlife, groundwater monitoring, and numerous geological studies. Things really got moving in 1994 when 43 buildings and structures that made up the former Weldon Spring Uranium Feed Materials Plant were safely decontaminated and dismantled, and the Weldon Spring Quarry was dewatered. There was also a site water treatment plant that went into operation. Bulk waste from the quarry began in early May, and the waste was then placed on an engineered laydown pad within the chemical plant boundary. A total of 120,000 cubic yards of contaminated waste was removed from the quarry, as well as the removal of 33 major structures, foundations, and contaminated soil from 54 acres. A final shipment of over 20,000 gallons of organic aqueous liquids were then moved to the K-25 incinerator facility in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. In 1997, groundbreaking ceremonies were held to commemorate the construction of the new disposal cell, located at the spot of the former uranium feed materials plant site. On March 5th of 1998, the first load of contaminated waste was placed in the disposal cell. In 1999, the Weldon Springs Site Remedial Action Project received the D.O.E. Voluntary Protection Program START status for safety, the first D.O.E. remediation site to achieve the department's highest excellence in safety. On June 3rd of 2001, the final load of waste was placed in the disposal cell, bringing the total amount of waste placed in the disposal cell to 1.48 million cubic yards. The last rock was placed on the cap of the 45-acre disposal cell on October 23rd. The disposal cell was then complete. In 2002, the final restoration of the chemical plant site and the quarry was completed. The areas were graded and then seeded to minimize erosion and to return the areas to their natural contours. The official opening of the Weldon Spring Interpretive Center was celebrated in the summer. All roads were converted to a hike and bike trail, which linked it to the historic Katy Trail from the quarry to the chemical plant site and to the Wildlife Center at the August A. Busch Memorial Wildlife Area, which includes many lakes for fishing and boating. Hiking trails and other activities such as archery, shooting ranges, and even retriever dog training are available. This location gives visitors a good opportunity to experience an important part of this country's history while enjoying family-oriented recreation. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you enjoyed this short informational video. Be sure to keep an eye out for some exciting projects in the future.